fancy. Did you miss us?
Yeah, we're back. It's been a while.
Yeah, we had to take a little hiatus just because we're busy. I wish I had a good answer. But my name is
One was
Benji.
forced upon us by the comics not arriving on time. So
Well, yeah, 1 week the comics didn't arrive, so that would have been boring. And then we had our big LP meeting, which happened. I'm Benji, you're Mack. Bekah will be with us in a little bit to talk of some news, but let's start talking about this week's comics.
Yeah, let's get into it. We had a continuation of The Last Annihilation. I did not mean for that to rhyme, but let's start off with that this week. What did you think of Wiccan and Hulkling?
I liked it. I think it's my pick of the week, actually.
Okay.
I'm a sucker for young love in comics. And this kind of tells a story in parallel. I didn't read the Children's Crusade back in the day, but obviously Hulkling and Wiccan have been kind of popping up all over the place, with even on WandaVision, at least Wiccan. So it was kind of nice to go kind of get their origin story, which I didn't know. I mean, I knew Iron Lad kind of started them on the hero's journey, but I didn't know how they met. I didn't realize they met in high school, and and then there's sort of a parallel about their complement. It's a sucker comic in that it's like too sweet. Sometimes sort of tone good. It's a little, everything works out perfectly, but we need that. We're dealing with something completely different in Sinister War, so it's nice to have things work out.
Very true.
So I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I liked it a lot too. It was nice to get that backstory, like you said, and it added a little bit to their wedding that we read somewhat recently. Now I'm sure it was like 6 months ago at this point, but at the time we were like, we liked the wedding story, but it felt like it was missing something, and this kind of added more context to that kind of made it more complete. I did feel as though this was like leading up to the finale of The Last Annihilation, and on that front it kind of felt a little flat for me. Like I felt like it needed, and there is still one more issue that we're getting, but kind of felt like something bigger needed to happen, or we're almost swinging in the wrong direction, getting into the finale. Usually it's on a downturn for the heroes as opposed to being so positive. So I'm curious to see how that goes with the finale of this story. But I liked it. It was definitely enjoyable. And you're right, given all of the other comics that we've read, I mean, Dark Ages especially, it was nice to get something positive to start off with.
Yeah. Well, you want to transition to Dark Ages?
Sure, we can jump.
Throw you for a loop.
No, that's fine. We can jump to Dark Ages here. I think I have the right one. There we go. And we'll go also from your pick of the week right to my pick of the week. I think this says a lot about us, right? You picked a very bright and cheery and positive comic, and I have one literally called Dark Ages. So that, what does that say about me?
So can I ask you questions? Because I'm a little confused, and you're a little bit more into it than I am. Did I miss something? Like, what Marvel universe am I in?
I have just been willing to throw that out the window whenever I jump into a new series, to be honest. It doesn't, especially going right from Sinister War into this. I'm like, okay, well, Spider-Man is at this point in his story, and now we're in just a completely different place here. So
I don't remember him having a daughter in the last issue.
Right. That's another thing too. We've seen all sorts of different iterations of Peter Parker and his relationship with MJ. Sometimes they are broken up, sometimes they're married, sometimes they have a son, sometimes they have a daughter. So it's all over the place. That's something I'm willing to look past, to be honest. I'm not even worried about the context to it, but the story itself and this particular issue, I really, really enjoyed. What did you think?
I liked that it was it used the whole Marvel universe kind of in a good way, it didn't get overbearing, but it made sense. I would just say I guess I just don't know where we're going with this and what's the point, because it doesn't take place. I mean, it can be its own story, but I don't think it was strong enough to be just like a prestige kind of series. And everyone's in especially as you're reading it, in as we read it, in time, no one is where they're supposed to be. And I mean, I wish I was like you, where I could just throw the continuity out, but it's just hard to get emotionally invested in when, part of what makes Marvel Comics is that, there's a story that kind of unfolds, and it's hard to care about his daughter when you never heard of his daughter,
Right.
At least recently. So, I guess this book wasn't what I expected it to be, which kind of, it's kind of like when your headcanon doesn't come into play when you see the movie. But
Yeah.
I think it was a good story. I just wish I cared. I guess it felt like an event series that isn't.
Yeah, I think it's funny because I'm looking at this almost the exact opposite way. Like this was pretty much exactly what I expected it to be. It feels like that event series, but a self-contained one, right? Not one that's going to spill out into the rest of the Marvel universe and create spin-off series and stuff like that. I'm looking at this in a similar way to like Marvel Zombies or something like that. It's a post-apocalyptic world where the heroes have already lost, and I mean, I guess this is sort of the prequel to that. This is leading into how they lost, but we know that all hope is lost going into this, and we're going to be dealing with the fallout of afterwards. So I like that. I like how different that is. Like you said, it encompasses the Marvel universe. We see all sorts of different characters in this, and it doesn't feel overwhelming in any way. Spider-Man is a great, focal point and sort of narrator for it, because that allows them to throw in some humor to what is otherwise obviously a very dark story. It also has some surprising moments in there. Like I with this kind of thing, you expect everything to be negative and dark, and then that you turn the next page, digitally at least, and something positive happens, and you're like, oh wow, I wasn't expecting that. And so this comic kept me on my toes, and I really enjoyed it, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
What you got next?
Let's get into Web of Spider-Man.
Inspired by Avengers Campus.
Story going here. Yeah, inspired by Avengers Campus. I have been somewhat critical of this series so far, in that it feels like it's just made to tie into Avengers Campus and isn't really giving us a story. I feel like it's turned a corner now. I think we're getting into an original story here. We have the interesting characters in place, and I'm starting to like this more and more.
Yeah, I think it's with these tie-in books, you never really know, and just in the weird way that Avengers Campus kind of is a weird part of the multiverse, where it's like kind of tied into the cartoon series, kind of tied into the movies, kind of tied into its own thing. Like it. I think it kind of had to. It spent maybe a little bit of time establishing itself as what it needed to be. Unlike sort of like the opposite of Dark Ages, where it took a little bit to be, like, they were like, okay, here's this version, like this is the world we live in. Where I don't know if that was totally necessary in this kind of book, but yeah, I feel like we're getting somewhere, and you got a great cast, so it's just sort of, they can't help but be fun.
Yeah, the addition of Amadeus Cho, I think, was a nice, a good call there. We also got, I mean, it's still kind of following that same formula, where it's a problem arises and they now have to figure out how to work as a team, even if that means splitting up the team into two groups. But we did get an unexpected finale to this issue that felt to me like completely out of left field. But I like that. I like that we are taking a turn that wasn't so obvious and simplified, I guess. So I'm interested to see where it goes from here.
Cool. So that means we've got, speaking of Spider-Man, Sinister War.
Yeah, turn a corner to a completely different kind of Spider-Man story. And this one is not so positive, like you mentioned with the first one. This is really ramping up now, and getting to that finale that we've been waiting for what feels like forever at this point.
Oh my gosh, Kindred. But I think, there's death, like straight up death. I'm glad they dealt with Doc Ock in the way they did. I felt like they kind of handled that perfectly, in a way that just didn't, like, well, I don't want to spoil it, but I felt like his characterization was pretty strong in this. But I'm ready. I'm ready.
Yeah, this is a difficult issue to talk about without spoiling anything, because there are sort of a lot of big plot points that, something cool happens with Doc Ock. There's cool stuff happening with Kindred. There's a big plot point with another one of Peter's friends. So we can't get into too much of it, but yeah, I feel like they've handled this story very well. It feels like a classic Spider-Man story, but yet they're still doing things that are new. And I still really, really like Kindred as a character. So I'm really looking forward to this finale. I am just worried that I'm building myself up to be let down, given what we've dealt with in Kindred stories in recent past.
Yeah, I feel like I'm ready for Kindred to be revealed. Like, I feel like I mean, maybe we'll be surprised, but I kind of feel like we know where this is going, but, and who's going to play a big role. But unlike earlier in the run where I just felt like it was Kindred monologuing, like the same, we get it, you have a beef with Spider-Man. I felt like, this issue actually kind of brought in some classic Spider-Man action and dialogue. So it made it, not about Kindred. I mean, he's the puppet master, but I think he's better as a puppet master than just a villain in his own right.
Yeah, the only thing about this is this whole story really that I haven't really liked is that it doesn't allow for Peter Parker to be his, comedic self, really. And that's sort of my favorite part of one of my favorite things about Spider-Man. So I would like to see more of that, but obviously the story doesn't lend itself to that. So it makes perfect sense that we're not getting those jokes thrown in there. One more issue to talk about this week is the continuation of World War She-Hulk, Avengers number 48. What are your thoughts here?
I liked it. It didn't really feel like an Avengers story, right? It's basically She-Hulk and Gorilla Man. But I think, we saw what he did in the previous issue, sort of his betrayal. And, you get into his head a little bit. And I think that's pretty cool. And in a way, you even get into Jennifer Walters' head. We'll talk in a minute that we know where her story is going to a point. But, it's been a fun journey, I think, to get there. This isn't one of those, Phoenix Saga kind of things where everyone's,
right.
But this is the Avengers trying to help their friend, and the sort of epic complications that happen when you have She-Hulk and Gorilla Man being influenced by the Red Room. So I look forward to seeing where this is going. And, I sort of regret the announcement they made in that it kind of told us where this is going, but I look forward to seeing how we get there.
Yeah, that kind of thing happens with comics so frequently, unfortunately.
A great cover too. I love, like, you have her there, but then you have the Black Widow sort of iconography with the destruction that would be in her wake. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, the art throughout this series has been fantastic. You're right. I have the same note here. Not a lot from the Avengers for an Avengers story, but I've been familiar with Gorilla Man as sort of just like a side character in crossover things or Avengers stories, stuff like that, but not so much with like that character specifically. And it was cool to get inside his head and hear more of that character's lore and stuff like that. So that was a lot of fun. And the dynamic with She-Hulk, a character who, I mean, doesn't say a word in the comic, I think was really interesting. And yeah, lots of action, a lot of different targets for She-Hulk, and that makes things, you were jumping around the Marvel universe, seeing a lot of interesting locations and different types of people. So yeah, it was a fun issue. I'm definitely interested to see, like you said, we know kind of where it's going, but I want to see how we get there.
So we should probably talk about that. Yesterday was Marvel's birthday, and so they announced some, I would say, their content rollout for the rest of, I shouldn't say the rest of the year, but for the next few months, including major events, new titles, and there we go. So the first is a Marvel event, Devil's Reign. We knew the Daredevil title was wrapping up, but this is the sort of continuation with it, with Kingpin playing a big role. So what do you think? Excited?
Yeah, I am excited for a lot of the comics that they announced here. I think Devil's Reign sounds awesome. I like the idea of, it's funny how there's always these huge cosmic events going on, and yet Wilson Fisk making a rule in the city of New York still draws in characters from the Avengers, from the X-Men, from, like the Fantastic Four. Like everybody gets drawn into something so small. And I love that they can still have those crossover events like that. So I'm definitely excited for Devil's Reign. Timeless also sounds very interesting. If I can pull up.
Yeah, let me get the email, which I should have had ready, but I didn't.
I have Timeless right here. It says, when a threatening new timeline emerges, Kang the Conqueror must fight his way through the coming year to protect the main 616 timeline he's worked centuries to solidify as his own. So we're dealing with Kang as the hero in this, or at least seemingly. Kang always has some other intentions, kind of hidden. We'll see where that goes. But this seems like a really interesting timeline, especially with what's going on in the MCU right now. I think this is going to have a lot of people excited.
Well, and what's interesting is on this timeline, that one seems to be a bigger, I don't know if I'm reading into it, but, it spans the timeline. So
yeah,
I don't know if that's just a pun or if it's just like, this is the big one. Because you also have Avengers Forever. And this one I thought was interesting is it says, Avengers Forever pulls together archaeologist Tony Stark, also known as the Invincible Ant-Man, and Avengers from across the multiverse to bring order to timelessness where hope is a four-letter word. Written by Jason Aaron and art by Aaron Cutter. So Jason Aaron, who we just read in Avengers, telling a new story in that title. So I guess I didn't realize Tony Stark had become Ant-Man.
Yeah, another one of those things where, we find ourselves just in a different timeline, different universe, different things are happening, and we kind of just have to roll with it. I'm sure we'll get the explanation in the middle of that story, but until then, we just have to kind of accept it.
Then you got, House of 10, Power of 10 kind of kicked off the new X-Men storytelling of Jonathan Hickman, his run coming to an end, but now we're going to have 10 Lives of Wolverine and 10 Deaths of Wolverine, which will test the best there is at what he does before any mutant can survive to the second Krakoan age. Written by Benjamin Percy, Joshua Casero, and Federico Vicentini. And so there's going to be two interlocked tales, probably similar to how Powers of 10 and House of 10 kind of did that back in the day at the start of the first Krakoan age. For those who remember, I'm kind of interested. Are you surprised they're sticking with Krakoa so long?
No, I honestly kind of have accepted this as the future of mutants, and I like it. It's weird at times, as we've talked about, but I like where they're at with mutants right now in Krakoa and that whole dynamic.
So next we have She-Hulk from Rainbow Rowell and Jorge Antonio. Jennifer Walters tries to put her rage-filled days behind her and return to practicing law in defense of the innocent. But when a friend from her past comes knocking with a mystery she can't resist, She-Hulk gets back to bashing. So I think this is probably trying to get her back to something that the folks that are watching the She-Hulk Disney Plus series will recognize, a little bit more intelligent than that we're currently dealing with in Avengers. But so, and the logo's green, so it'll be green again.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that, and I just want to see this current She-Hulk story play out first before I even start to think about that one, to be honest.
Dan Slott continuing his Fantastic Four with Fantastic Four Reckoning War, an epic saga over 15 years in the making, which means I got to go back and read a lot more comics. The original secret war of the Marvel Universe has been reignited, and every living being in reality is in danger.
Yeah, this was one that I saw on there, and I was like, okay, next Fantastic Four story, whatever, it's probably going to be Galactus or something. But Dan Slott, as soon as this was announced, he immediately just went nuts on Twitter. He was tweeting the rest of the day, and some comic panels from old comics that just mention Reckoning War. Like a long time ago, just sort of in passing, just, it's the Reckoning War, all bets are off. And at the time, you're like, I have no idea what they're talking about. But it's been playing up for the past, like it says, 15 years. So now it's got me, they've got me excited for this. Like you said, I want to go back and read everything that sets up. I need Marvel Unlimited to give me a reading list to build me up for a Reckoning War, because I'm excited now.
And finally, we got Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. Lunella Lafayette and Devil Dinosaur are back. Obviously, the show is coming to Disney Channel probably around that same time, COVID willing. So not a lot. We don't know the creative team yet on that one, but that seems to be their big tentpole. So Timeless being the multiverse spanning epic that I think people who have watched Loki will be expecting.
Yeah, lots to look forward to on the comic front there.
So on the movie front, we've got a new trailer for Spider-Man No Way Home, right? So should we bring in Bekah?
Let's do that.
There you are.
Hello.
What do you think of the trailer?
What do I think of the trailer? I am very excited and very confused. And yeah, really just can't wait. I love Spider-Man. He's my favorite of the superheroes.
Did you expect to see Jennifer Lee's husband in the trailer?
No, although I knew he was part of the story. So I wondered if we were going to get a Green Goblin like reveal. I mean, besides the pumpkin bomb and the laugh, I was wondering like, oh, well, now that we have Doc Ock, are we also going to see Green Goblin? But
I keep seeing memes of Dane DeHaan from The Amazing Spider-Man 2 and, popping up and being like, it was me the whole time. But yeah, no, I'm pretty sure we're heading towards the Willem Dafoe version of the character.
I mean, that's the one I would want to see.
Oh, yeah, that's what everyone wants to see.
But yeah, this looks awesome.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, nothing happened here that I didn't expect, aside from some small, quick flashes of other characters that might be involved, like the Sandman and the Lizard, maybe. But we knew we were getting Doctor Strange, we were getting some multiverse stuff, and we knew Alfred Molina was reprising his role as Doc Ock. So loved everything that they gave us in this trailer. I mean, at this point, though, I kind of don't want to see any more. Just give me the movie.
Yeah, I know. I know. We all have our ideas of what's going to be there or not. So the less they give us, the better.
And then, so since we're on the MCU talk, do we want to talk about What If this week? Doctor Strange over there?
Yeah.
Down there? Destroying our universe for love.
Yes, because
should we have Kyle come in so he can tell you?
Yeah, we should have Kyle come in. Yep. Guys, if anything happens to him, the world's going to go crazy because I'm going to fight to bring him back.
I mean, I like Kyle, but not like that. You can find someone else.
Wow, this conversation took a turn.
I'm just saying he's a good guy, not worth destroying the timeline for. Just saying.
Well, isn't that the ultimate question, right? Like, is there anyone worth destroying the ultimate timeline for? This was a dark episode, you guys. Like, yeah. I really liked it, but I was surprised at how heavy it was.
So there's something I noticed, and I want to know your thoughts on if this is going to continue. This is the first episode that I can think of where Uatu is like in the story. Like he doesn't do anything, but he's there and he's talks to, and he's talked to and he talks. And I think we've seen a sort of an increase in the series of his presence. I feel like, he's always kind of in shadow or in the distance. And I think like last week you saw his silhouette a little bit more. Mm-hmm. And in this one, he obviously he talked to Doctor Strange. He didn't say, I'm not going to interfere. It's not worth it. But are we leading into, you think, this going from a show that's just What If to actually a story about Uatu?
Well, are you leading me in the direction of a Fear Itself animated series? Is that what you're hoping for?
Oh, that was the other thing about Dark Ages. Watu had two eyes again. I was like, what's going on? Yeah, I guess I don't know. Like the multiverse is obviously we know it's playing a big part in Phase 4 and beyond. After the Infinity Saga. So I just wonder, like, is this more than an anthology? Is this an anthology with a through line?
So
we know there's going to be a second season, right?
Mm-hmm.
The thought that I've kind of been on is that I don't know that they're going to perfectly line up, but it seems to me as though they are setting each episode up for its own sequel. And so, I mean, the one that we got today, not so much, but previous episodes have been set up in that way. And I was thinking season 2 would just line up and that the first episode would give us the sequel to Peggy Carter's story and then T'Challa's
So when I did the junket, they said that was actually the one story they were going to sequel was the Peggy Carter. That would be the one that they bring back. But they just said it in such a way that it kind of implied that the rest were just kind of
only.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, I don't know. It's just the show makes you realize the sort of storytelling possibilities that exist in Marvel. But yeah, and this one obviously dealt with time in a way that kind of, I mean, it's not in Loki per se, exactly, but this one actually dealt with time as a topic and, the multiverse as a topic in reality, as opposed to just being like, in this version, this happened. In this version, that happened. And what's the ramifications? We also get that squid thing again.
Yeah. I was curious to know if you thought is that the same creature?
So Kyle asked me that, and I said, I don't know my squid tentacles. You have to ask Mack.
I'm not up to date on my interdimensional squids, so I'm not sure.
I mean, to me, as soon as it appeared, I was like, oh, isn't this the same creature that we saw Peggy push back through whatever that portal was?
Yeah. Yeah, not sure. To be honest, I mean, there's so many bizarre creatures, in the Marvel universe that it could be the same thing. It could be something completely different. Honestly, they haven't given us enough information to really know for sure.
The one that you hinted at, well, in the Peggy Carter episode, you seemed to you thought you recognized who that character was. Is there more to the character than just the squid parts, or is like there a face and like a voice?
There's a giant eyeball at the center.
Okay.
Shuma Gorath is who we're talking about, which is more or less a Doctor Strange villain. So it would have made more sense for this character to appear in this episode. Still not sure because we just didn't get to see enough.
Yeah. I was really surprised at his when Doctor Strange was his two parts. Just like the absorption of other character or creatures and powers, like that was a really weird thing for me. Not disturbing, but
he started off like a Gravity Falls gnome.
Yeah, I know. I was like, oh. I like how he took the cape from the bug too. He's like, yeah, I'm not going to deal with you, but I want your cape.
Yeah, you can live, but I'm going to keep your cape. I feel like with this kind of show, they can just pull from any other property and just like Doctor Strange could have just like Donald Duck could have came out of the portal at some point and be like, I'm taking your hat. And then he's gone.
Yeah, that was, and then poor like Frankenstein Doctor Strange at the end.
Yeah, it was heartbreaking, this whole episode. This was like the previous episodes, it's ended and I've been like, oh, that was awesome. This is, more Marvel stuff. Cool. This one ended and I was like, oh, like I feel like I just got punched in the stomach.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
A couple other comic things that I noticed. Obang is the character that he meets at that mysterious jungle and temple. Obang is potentially the real name of Cagliostro in the comics, so that maybe that was Cagliostro, who's hugely powerful sorcerer. So maybe some other games at play there. And then when the two Doctor Stranges fought, it like basically firing Kirby Crackle at him. I thought that was really cool that they threw that detail in there.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. It's it gave me a little bit of Superman 4 vibes, but
okay.
As far as the cast goes, I love that I mean, there weren't many characters in this, but I love that they got the original cast back for everyone. And that goes all the way down to Christine Everhart, played by Leslie Bibb, who you might remember from the first Iron Man, who Tony Stark will say flirts with in the first Iron Man. And I like, they got her back just to like give a news report on the TV in the background for like 3 seconds. I love that they went that deep for this.
I know that's something that I've been really impressed with this whole entire series so far is, that you have all of these voices that you're familiar with, back.
But not Dave Bautista, the stranger.
And Chris Evans or
well, yeah.
Robert Downey Jr. But
anything else on this episode?
Really liked it. I love that. I mean, it shows how different this show can be week to week. Like, I honestly, now going into next week, I have no idea what to expect. It felt like we were following a pattern. We were getting, Marvel-esque stories. And then this was almost a love story / horror movie. It was like completely different. And now I just don't know what to expect in the future.
And what's interesting is we don't really know what's going to be until like the Tuesday before when they release the poster and the clip. Like, we don't know what next week will bring. So, but there was some Marvel Games news, if I'm not mistaken, Mac.
Yeah, Midnight Suns, which really caught me off guard. Wasn't expecting this. A PC game coming in March. With, I mean, just an awesome group of characters. So this can only be fun. I'm not a huge gamer, especially not a PC gamer, but this is something that I might be willing to check out because, I mean, anytime you can get Wolverine, Iron Man, Ghost Rider, like, it's just such an awesome group of characters together.
I haven't done PC games in a long time, but if you decide to play this, let me know and maybe I'll.
I think the last PC game I played was Myst.
Wow.
There is a trailer. There's a trailer for this game that we have up on laughingplace.com right now that you can go check out too. So if you're sorry, Kyle is throwing me off here with his comment, but very accurate.
That is true.
But yeah, so you can check that out on Laughing Place if you want to, get hyped for this new game.
And Bekah, any Marvel must-haves this week?
This is from the last week's episode, but we do have some Marvel must-haves. A lot of emphasis on the Watcher, and then kind of a look at what's coming up later, like with this Enter the Multiverse shirt that we have here. And I don't remember which tab that's under. Maybe it's this one. Oh, no, this is just a cool like Watcher shirt that they have with everybody. Cool. I think I've got a little bit of a better image there for you. So there's been Hot Topic has had a lot of these with the Watcher and then the subject of the episode, but then this one is everybody, which I thought was pretty cool. And then they also have, here we go. There it is. You can get a couple different colors. So you got 9 characters are these? I'm guessing these are the 9 subjects or 8 subjects and then the Watcher. And there it is in black, but I don't particularly like that color.
Yeah, you got to change the color of the text if you're going to have a black shirt then.
So you've got Captain Carter from episode 1. Mm-hmm. Star-Lord, episode 2, Black Widow from episode 3, Doctor Strange from episode 4.
Oh, they do have unless the Hydra Stomper, Steve is the Hydra Stomper, has his own story. Yeah, maybe it's not quite everybody, but
because there's 9 episodes, right?
Yeah, with the Watcher being one of them there, I think we're missing at least one, probably a couple.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Does the Watcher get his own episode?
I don't think you create an action figure for a shadowy figure. I hope we get like a more realized reveal of the Watcher. And let's see, I think I had another. I like this shirt, which you can also get in a different color. So that's on Amazon. I think that one's really cool. I love the whole like galactic look to it. And then on Shop Disney, they have some customizable items like Doctor Strange mug and Killmonger print. I don't know that I would want a canvas with the What If logo on there, but I don't hate it. And then we got the Watcher there too. So lots of exciting options for you what if fans. But I'm sure we'll have much more next week with everything from this episode.
And then there were some new action figures that were revealed today from Eternals. So presumably that show is still happening. A movie's still being released. So I think Max got that. I couldn't believe how accurate they look.
I was going to say, can we talk about the sculpt? Because especially the Kumail Nanjiani one, is it Kingo? Is that how you say his name?
Yeah, I believe. Yep. I've been having a hard time. I read Eternals comics a while back after they had announced the movie, and I saw that Makari looked exactly like Camille in the comics. So I was like, oh, that's who Camille is playing. But now every time I have to go to the cast, I'm just like, oh, wait, that's a different character. He's not playing that character. Okay. So, I keep losing track of who he is.
Yeah, I'm not going to be able to remember all the names, but...
Yeah.
But it's funny. It's like we're struggling now, but once this movie comes out, we'll be like, oh, yeah.
That's true.
Right.
Because the hard part with comics is like, there's no phonetics. Like you just read the name and you pronounce it however you think it's pronounced in your head. And then you realize, oh, I never thought about it. That's how you pronounce Mixelpick.
Yeah, like I think it's Richard Madden's character is like, I want to say it's Icarus, but also when I first saw it, I was like, oh, Icarus. And I was like, no, it's probably actually like the fable Icarus. So, or the Greek mythology, whatever it is. But these are so awesome. I haven't purchased any Marvel Legends figures, but part of me wants to get one. And I've never been to that, like I've never gotten to that point. So this is pretty awesome.
The Icarus figure in particular, that Richard Madden face is so accurate. Like it's eerily accurate. It's very strange. I do think it's interesting that the Build-A-Figure in this set is Gilgamesh. Usually it's a much bigger figure. And here it's pretty much just another one that fits right into that wave. So that's interesting. I thought maybe they would have gone with like a large deviant or something, but kind of stuck with the same size.
Well, I wonder too, like once you make a toy of it, it's out there. So like who, we haven't really seen the deviants,
right?
Unless I'm saying something. So
there's somebody in that trailer. There's some sort of creature. I would assume one of the deviants that we see talking. So that's what I would have expected, but. I guess they don't want to give us any other details just yet. Well,
and there's a few characters like Angelina Jolie's character, and is it Selma Hayek? Is that the right actress? Yeah. We don't have figures for them either, and also Jon Snow. I can't think of his real name. Kit Harington. So there's a couple people which I'm sure we'll get to see later on. Maybe there'll be a second or even third wave of figures.
The Dane Whitman, the Kit Harington character, that's the one I was most looking forward to. I wanted to see if they would give us a Black Knight figure, but and they're not willing to give that information away just yet either, apparently.
And then speaking of Marvel Legends, they did yesterday was the last day to back the Sentinel. No, I'm sorry, not Sentinel, Galactus.
And Sentinel will be coming soon, so we'll have a video of that fairly soon. But yeah, Galactus has been backed. And there was a while, so their original goal was 14,000 backers. And for a while, they were hovering around 8,000 to 9,000. And I was like, oh no, I feel like they might not reach this goal. They ended up with about 32,000 backers. So they absolutely smashed their goal. This was the final stretch goal they set at 20,000 backers. They would include a Morgue figure to go along with the Frankie Ray Nova and Silver Surfer figure that were already reached to be included. And so they had to hit 20,000. And again, like I said, they hit more than 32,000 backers. So Galactus figure is happening with 3 other figures included. So I'm excited to see that one. That's going to be an awesome addition to anyone's collection, and a gigantic addition to anyone's collection as well.
Yeah, doesn't it totally dwarf the Sentinel?
It's a solid like 6 inches taller than the Sentinel, and just bulkier, and yeah, it's big.
Did you see the last unlock?
I did not. Did I miss one?
I think if you go to Hasbro Pulse Instagram, it's not another figure. It's not. So he comes with 3. It's an alternate head for Galactus, which I will give Mack a second to pull up.
Yeah, keep stalling for me here. Hang on.
But whose head do you think would fit on Galactus?
Whose head would fit on Galactus?
Okay. Oh,
yeah. It's not size, but who is the arrogance?
Oh, that's not what I expected.
It looks so good, though.
It does. Okay, hang on. Let me get this shared here. Hang on. There it
Doom
is.
Galactus.
Yeah. Wow. When you said like whose head would fit on Galactus, I was like, are we getting like the Living Tribunal? Are we getting like Chaos, some other celestial being? No, we are getting Doom on a Galactus head or a Galactus body. That's awesome. I love it.
Wow.
So that was with 22,000 backers, which I think they blew past.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
That's very, very cool. But then this won't come out for another like year, correct?
Yeah, it'll be fall 2022. And this is the same thing. The Sentinel was announced a year ago and backed a year ago, and that should be coming. It just says fall 2021, so fairly soon. This one, it's funny. Like, it seems like they were like, oh, we keep blowing past these stretch goals. We got to give them something else. Put a Doom head on them. Like, that's where they got to.
I love it. I love it.
And we do know that we should expect more Marvel Legends news at Hasbro PulseCon, October 22nd, 23rd. Probably also Star Wars news as well. So for Marvel Legends fans, they're just getting, like, I know they're entry-level figures, but they're getting pretty cool, especially with the MCU figures where you get the film likeness.
Oh, yeah.
Impressive. So absolutely. I guess we've already gone about 45 minutes. So is there any last minute things we should talk about?
I can burn through a couple things real quick. Rocket and Groot were announced to join the Fab 50. I think that's pretty cool. Wasn't expecting any Marvel characters there, so I think that's a fun addition. We also have a review up on laughingplace.com right now for Marvel Monsters, a fun new sort of coffee table book. Lots of information on truly bizarre characters. I learned a lot about characters that I had never even heard of. There are some very, very strange ones out there, and some really, really awesome art in there as well. So definitely recommend you checking that out. I think it's like $25. It's an awesome addition for any Marvel fan to have. And yeah, I think we touched on one other piece of merch that I really like too was the Kate Pride pop figure with Lockheed, little fire breathing Lockheed there too. Yeah. You should get that tattoo.
I know.
Ooh, yeah. Let's do it, Benji.
No, thank you. That sounds like it would hurt. Like, that's pretty sensitive.
Yeah, I would not think that feels good.
I don't have any tattoos for many reasons, but including that.
I'm right there with you.
So thanks so much. I guess what do we got? We got more What If coming, right?
Yeah, we got. We're almost halfway through the first season of What If at this point, and that's going to lead us. I mean, not too long of a break between that and Hawkeye. So, this never-ending stream of Marvel content continues, and I'm not complaining.
Darn it. Anyway, thanks so much for joining us, and I'm trying to think if we've got what we got coming up. Not much that we can talk about. But
yeah, that's a better way to put it.
I will say, check us on Friday. We got lots probably coming up on Friday. So we'll see you then. Bye, everybody.